So in a hypothetical situation, if you needed to know how tall a certain object was, trig functions are going to be really helpful for this. So for example, if I have a tall object and I just drew a simple tree over here, and I needed to know how tall this tree was, I should be looking for however tall this object is. Now, one thing that's helpful to do here is to think about you and the tree as basically the makings of a triangle. So for example, if I consider the bottom of the tree to be one point, the top apex of the tree to be another point, and then myself to be a third point, what I realize here is I actually can consider this to be a triangle, which is going to be helpful when using trig functions because now I can use the trig functions since it's a right triangle. And so if I am unable to measure how tall this is, there are a couple things that I can measure though. For example, I could measure how long this bottom distance is. Let's put that in orange. And let's say maybe you have a tape measure, maybe you measure with paces, but let's say you measure that you are exactly 40 feet away from this tree. So now that you know that that's 40 feet, why don't we go ahead and let's say, well, what is this angle of incline going to be then in degrees? And so if I know that 90 degrees is going to be, a perfect right angle, it looks like this angle is maybe going to be about 60 degrees, right? If this was 60 degrees, this would be maybe 30 degrees. That looks like it adds up. So our rough estimate is that theta is about 60 degrees, okay? So if I was exactly 40 feet away from a tree looking up 60 degrees to the very apex of that tree, what that does is it paints a picture like this. Now I have this right triangle where I know one of the angles is 60 degrees. I know that my side is 40 feet long, and I'm trying to figure out what this side is, right? If x is this side, that means x is going to be the height of this tree in our example. So what are we given? We're given the angle already, so we're given theta. We need to find what the opposite is, and we already have what the adjacent is, right? Because reference to that angle, these would be the opposite and the adjacent, and 60 is our angle. So which trig function deals with opposite and adjacent? And the answer to that is going to be tangent, because tangent deals with opposite and adjacent here. So we're going to be using tangent of theta when we're solving for our answer. And so now I can go down here and I can say, well, tangent of theta, if that equals opposite over adjacent, let's fill in what we know. First off, we know that theta is equal to 60 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write in 60 degrees for my theta. And we also know that our opposite is what we're solving for. So I'm just going to write in x for my opposite, and that'll be my height. And so then my adjacent we already found was 40 feet. And so now we can go ahead and we can solve for x. So what I need to do is I need to multiply both sides by 40 to cancel out 40. And when I multiply both sides by 40, I am left with an equation like this. It says x equals 40 times tangent of 60 degrees. And so now I can just take out my calculator, and if I type in 40 times tangent of 60 degrees, I get an answer of 69.28 feet. And so if I was standing 40 feet away from a tree that I had to look up 60 degrees to see the top of the tree, that would mean the height of my tree is exactly 69.28 feet tall.